Hey there, everyone, and welcome into another episode of BreezeCast. I'm meteorologist Joe
And
Farrell.
I'm meteorologist Logan Schlautman.
Whew.
We have some stuff to talk about today. It might be a repeat, of some stuff we've seen earlier, just a little sneak peek. We might be seeing that heat return back into the area, but also some chances for thunderstorms heading into tonight. So Wednesday night into Thursday morning. But after that, Joe, we might be going on a dry stretch for what has been a pretty active July in terms of
Yeah.
rainfall.
Oh, it really has, and all the extreme flooding that happened late last week in central Iowa, the north half of the Des Moines metro. I mean, you had two locations, both Elkhart and Alleman, that ended up over 12 inches of rain in 24 hours. 12.6 is what Elkhart got. Just to put in perspective how much rain that is for all of you tuning in, um, that's not far away from the statewide record for most rain in a 24-hour period.
That's crazy.
Just over 13
Some
inches.
random July day that just happens out of nowhere, breaking almost an all-time record. But
I know.
that's how the Midwest is. That's how Iowa weather, even like other states around. It's just how
Facts.
it is nowadays. It's just you never know what's just coming up next.
No, you're so right. With all of this being said in that quick little review, we've got more rain to talk about, so let's dive right into things here. And the forecast is, it's not just hot, but also the rain. We've got a couple different things to watch for, as Logan mentioned. So these are the main headlines as we kind of move ahead in the next several days. We're going to be continuing to feel just a touch warmer because it is, it's typical humidity, but that doesn't mean it's not noticeable or that we don't experience it still. It's
At least though, sorry to cut you off, but
no,
at
please.
least it's going to be this heat dome that we're seeing next time. It's going to be on the warmer side, air temperature, but something that we're not going to see compared to last time. We'll talk about it here soon, but the humidity might not be as extreme as we saw last time, but we do have some chances for rainfall later tonight, like we were talking about. So taking a look right now, we're seeing a more strong southerly flow coming across the area, but we do have a boundary. Now, this boundary is what's going to allow for these storms to really form up across the area, more starting in portions of northern Iowa. And as we continue throughout that evening time frame, we can see it start to intensify a little bit. Now, I think one thing we're looking at here, Joe, is potentially the lack of shear to really keep these thunderstorms organized throughout the night.
Yeah. The amount of shear in the atmosphere and the environment is, which this is good news. It's not great over central Iowa. So that's good news. The environment's a little bit better to keep storms organized, which is why they are going to kind of, it looks as though they're weakening as it's moving in. Well, it's because we just are not going to have the same environment. So, kind of the reason behind that. However, it's not to say that a stronger storm within that and maybe even a severe thunderstorm warning or two. It's just a couple things that we can't really rule out completely at this time. But we also have to watch the rain, Logan, because it's, thankfully this is the last bit of rain that we're going to see for a little bit, but we can't handle, at least in, parts of central Iowa, we can't handle too much more than, 2-3 inches in a short amount of time. We can't handle much more than that just because the ground is still pretty darn saturated from all that rain late last week. It means it's all going to kind of run off. The ground is not going to be able to soak in as much of that rainfall. So with it running straight off into creek streams, things like that, like 4 Mile Creek, for example, or Walnut Creek or Beaver Creek, all three of those got pretty high last week. And it's something that we're going to have to watch for again. But Logan, the rain chances really do diminish, and it does look as though if you're in South Central Iowa, you've got the best chance to see something on Friday in the morning, but it doesn't look like it's going to be very widespread, any activity that we see on Friday.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be in terms of thunderstorms on that higher end. SPC doesn't have not even a marginal risk for that area, which could always be updated as we head because that is 2 days out. But I think it's going to be more on the general showers and maybe just more normal activity as we head into Thursday night, Friday morning. But yeah, like Joe said earlier, mainly going to be for that Friday. Now, here's what today for Wednesday's outlook is. we do see that slight has really has gone up across the area, and now including most of central and also western Iowa, as it was just a little sliver for portions of northern Iowa. So we are seeing some increased confidence in these storms, producing some slight severe weather across the area. Main thing would be wind and hail across the state. Now, as we head into our tornado threat, these storms are just too elevated, too high off the ground to really have a chance to really produce any tornadoes. You need those lower cloud bases to get into the areas, but there is a small threat, that 2% threat, that very low going from Carroll up into Mason City, but nothing really else for the Iowa area. But I will say it's when always in severe weather, like when we say a threat, it can never be zero. There's always a chance with weather that it can just happen out of nowhere, I'd say, Joe.
And this is this is I'm seeing an opportunity here to say something that uh, I think is good for people to know, that when we are conveying uncertainty and when we say that any severe situation, the threats are, I mean, seriously, you can't have an absolute zero for any threats because the environment can change so fast. And when we convey that uncertainty, it's not because we don't know. It's because we are confident that the risk is not ever absolute zero. So we want everyone to be aware that everything's still possible, but we're always going to talk about what is going to be the higher probability of threats. And so even though we may convey some of that uncertainty, it's not because we don't have a clue what's going on. It's just weather's not an exact science. And so it is difficult for us to just concretely say the tornado threat is zero because it's never zero. We've had bad environments for tornadoes, but still have gotten them this severe weather season. We've had environments that haven't been great, but they still can happen. So just one of those things that if we are conveying uncertainty, it's because we want everyone to be prepared for everything, but we're always going to mention that what is the greatest risk with any severe weather event.
Yeah, and with today, we're going to be looking mainly at that wind and hail threat. So here's the wind threat. That's where a majority of that slight risk is coming from, as we do see that low chance for wind risk across portions of the state. We also do have a hail threat, mainly going to be for western, but also getting into northwestern portions of northern Iowa, but it's going to be on that lower end. So we're going to be looking at another windstorm coming across the area, but still can't rule out anything. And we take a look right now. Another thing that we talked about earlier was flooding. Now, this is the future rainfall heading through Friday. You can see portions of northeastern Iowa, but also central Iowa could pick up a potential inch. And where Joe was talking about earlier, those rains, the rainfall, it's already flooded a lot of the ground. So it's really tough for that dirt to absorb any water, which allows for that runoff getting into the creek. So this is something we are going to be looking at. But National Weather Service has put out a flood watch already for central and also northern Iowa as we head throughout the rest of the time here. But we'll take a look. I think there's more extra to the graphic, and you can just tell this takes you through Monday. I forgot I added this part in. Not a
Nothing.
lot of rainfall. It
Nada.
stays pretty similar. So we're going to be seeing a dry stretch as we head past today, but also through Friday. I think that's going to be the last days of any prominent rainfall coming across the area for your mid-July. Now, after that, I think we'll be seeing chances for those rainfall amounts. We do have that. That was the flood watch right there I was talking about. And there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now. I think that's what until
Yeah, it's late tonight.
it's just out of our area.
Yeah,
But the flood watch, those green boxes in the counties for central, but also northern Iowa, that's going to be until 10 a.m. for Thursday morning.
And you see also the timestamp in the top right hand corner of the graphic. These were issued very recently, and it's just because of how everything is going to look and going to go a little bit later on tonight. So the excessive rain outlook, it does mirror the slight risk almost to a T. And that's because I mean the areas that are highlighted, it's just I think maybe slight is. Do you think that's overdone, Logan? I don't. I haven't paid enough attention over the last couple of years to how the Weather Prediction Center kind of does these outlooks. If the slight and moderates are more common, I'm not 100% sure. If you have any insight on that, is do you think slight's a little bit too high here, or
I
is
I
that
think I think it's a good part. I think it could have been taken down to a marginal if we just didn't have the rainfall earlier.
okay?
Something I'll look at, I think I'll have to see is our flash flood guidance numbers
Okay,
for
yeah,
1
yeah,
hour,
yeah.
3 hours, 6 hours to see how much rainfall we could take in the area before we start seeing some of that flooding and maybe even the urban rain rate dashboard and check that. But I think a slight is I think for central Iowa is needed there. Now, northwestern Iowa depends. We have seen those storms that were coming through could be on the stronger side potentially, and northwestern Iowa could see some rainfall. I think it's good placement. I don't think there's really anything bad with it. Maybe because I think northeastern Iowa also had a lot of rainfall, so I'm thinking mainly portions
Yeah,
and getting into Nebraska.
and I guess you can still have excessive rainfall, but not experience devastating flooding. That is also something that I have to keep in mind in my own brain. So the a slight risk for excessive rain, especially northeastern and central Iowa, um, as Logan mentioned. It's gonna be that's where the flooding potential is highest just because of the rainfall from last week. And as we saw, the rainfall totals, they didn't go up at all heading into next week. And well, it's all because of another heat dome. So very, very minimal chances for rain once we get past what's going to be happening overnight tonight, as of this recording, into Thursday, July 9th morning, and into next week because of the heat dome.
Now, this is a pretty impressive heat dome. We saw the one last time that was more positioned in the southeast. Now, with it being in the southeast, those winds on the left side of that high pressure system back then, it would allow for those that Gulf moisture to really come up into the area, which was really kicking up those heat and sea valleys. Now, this one's gonna be a little more tough. It's on the more southwestern side of the states as we head later on into next week. So you can tell by the red, this is getting up into almost Canada, that jet stream.
Yeah, that's
It's really
wild.
going to be warming up a lot of temps across the United States. So always important to practice your safe heat measures. But one thing we are going to keep, I think, limited is the humidity. I think it's going to be on the lower side. We're really not going to be able to have access to a lot of moisture thanks to since that where that high pressure is, we have those east to west winds. So the wind, the humidity in the air or the water vapor really can't work its way up into Des Moines. So we'll be seeing hotter temperatures. I think we could potentially see some mid 90s in some days,
Yeah.
but we're
I
just
mean,
not going to have that humidity with it. So that warm air temperature.
yeah, and the reason for that is it takes more energy, more of the sun's energy to heat up a moist atmosphere and moist air compared to dry air. So when we have drier air in place in the state of Iowa and we're not seeing that humidity, that does allow the sun to heat us up a little bit more. So the actual air temperature goes up by a few degrees, but the heat indices maybe don't end up reaching the level that we had last week because it is going to be a drier type of heat. However, Logan, um, driving around, we see, of course, we're in Iowa. We see a lot of corn, right? Corn is, it's been growing really well. So, and for farmers, I'm happy for that. But we are at a point where that corn starts to quite literally sweat. The technical term for it is um, evapotranspiration. I think I got it right.
Yep.
I think
It's a big word.
evapotranspiration. Basically, the corn brings water up into itself. From the soil, and then it excretes it on its leaves to cool itself down, just like we sweat. And that's how our bodies try to cool us down. It's very similar with corn, but there's a lot more corn and corn stalks than people in this state by a wide margin. So that corn, and when it starts sweating, it can really produce a lot of humidity. So that is something that may come into play, especially in mornings. Now the afternoons, I do believe a heat index of 104. That might be slightly overdone. 100-degree heat indices are not out of question, but I think the upper 90s for heat indices are going to be more common Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we could teeter tot some places. I would think more northwestern Iowa, just where that high pressure is put in place. I think have the better chances for those triple digit heat indices and maybe even getting up to some higher end air temperatures. I will say, Joe, you were talking about the corn stuff earlier. Just
Yeah.
dropping back a little bit. I've been doing I've been doing some research. I've just been looking around, and I think we're seeing less 100-degree air temperature days because we really haven't seen one in over 1,000 days compared to the prior like 1900s.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more corn production that I think is limiting our chances for seeing 100-degree days here. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna do more digging, but I've looked at some stuff. I think that's a pretty cool topic to look at.
Oh, it is very cool. And um what we've got here is just how much above normal or below normal high temperatures are going to be. But I want to keep on that topic for a second here. Um because it's fascinating, isn't it? And you think back to what was if it wasn't the hottest day in Iowa history, then well, I think maybe one other day you can maybe pick out in there. I'd have to look back through history, but July 25th, 1936, you had the Dust Bowl. And what happened during the Dust Bowl was there were a couple of mega droughts in a row. There were also a lot of poor farming practices at that time. So you had a situation where things basically kind of turned into a desert almost. It just was a lot of barren earth in the state of Iowa because of the Dust Bowl and how dry it was. And you had a heat dome set up like we are going to have, where it was a dry heat. So combining those factors, it allowed temperatures to get into the 110s and the humidity just wasn't as high. So there's the evidence that that drier air and drier earth, just like a desert, heats up quicker and heats up more than a moist atmosphere. So I think what happened on July 25th, 1936 is going to be incredibly hard for the state of Iowa to have a repeat of, just because we don't have that type of atmosphere anymore in this region. It's a warmer atmosphere in this region now compared to back then, and it's also a more moist atmosphere now compared to back then. I just think it would take a very extreme setup to have a situation like that happen again.
And all I'm gonna say is 1936, that was hot. July, it has 12 records from the book from that
That's
year alone, all in
incredible.
the hundreds, not even 100, getting up to 109, 107, 102, 108. It just
That's
that's a warm year. So really shows
incredible.
the dust bowl, just showing how much that can really impact air temperatures across the states. But July is the only month. I was just looking at all the records for all the days. July is the only month where every day high temperature record is at least over 100 degrees.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. And that kind of thing continues to, show the evidence of what we were just discussing with, how dry it was back then. Folks, that would be so hard to repeat. I'm telling you. I mean,
I think it's going to be impossible just how much corn we produced and all
seriously,
the crops
yeah.
compared to not having a lot of stuff back then, especially through the
Yeah.
Dust Bowl.
And exactly. Think of how much, farming and technology has increased yields. And so, yeah, we've got more vegetation, we've got more corn, we've got more soybeans. We've got more of all of that now. And we also don't have a mega drought that lasts for 4, 5, 6, 7 months at a time for an entire, season. They were basically getting zero rainfall. So it'd be really tough. So, Logan saying impossible. I mean, I am so close. I think the way I put it yesterday was, if I had to put odds on something like that happening again, it would be the same odds of you getting struck by lightning twice in the same day and also in that same day winning the lottery. Combining those,
I don't know which one I'd prefer.
that's how slim I would put it.
Which one do you prefer? These hot temperatures or getting struck by lightning twice and then win the lottery?
That's a great question, actually, because I would love to win the lottery
would
now.
too.
Now,
It's a little painful for the lightning strikes.
The lightning strikes might make life a little bit different.
We got
It
the
would
water,
pay.
though.
It would pay all the
Yeah.
health bills, though.
It would pay. It would pay a lot of stuff compared to having 109 degrees here,
Yeah.
here high temperatures. So
Seriously, gosh, yeah. So stay safe in the heat as it arrives, and if you're tuning into this, the day that it will be posted, which is Wednesday, July 8th, be on the lookout and stay aware of those storms. But if you're tuning into this later this week, the heat, just be ready for that, because that's a toasty forecast into next week. But gosh, that was a fun episode.
that was a good one. Yeah.
I think we can wrap it there. Thank you all so much for tuning in every single week. We appreciate it so much, and thank you's not enough. Seriously, we appreciate you tuning in. For meteorologist Logan Schlautman. Logan, you know what? Why don't you sign us off
Oh,
here?
perfect. All right. So I'm meteorologist Logan Schlautman signing off, and also with meteorologist Joe Farrell. We'll see you next week, and stay safe.